Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creators. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boys, in the mayor's office. But as always, I am not alone. I like music. I play music. And even though my love for kids is kind of, my guest today loves the kids expressing herself through her music. Please welcome Twinkle Time. How you doing?
What's up? Hello, Flobo. How are ya?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day, a beautiful week. And as I'm recording this, my birthday week can't contain my excitement.
Yes. It's birthday month. It should have been birthday month for you.
Yeah, it should have been. I do that for coupons. I wait for all the coupons and I'll do it. But when I was a kid, the one thing I liked about birthdays was birthday parties. Because you get to have all the candy and all the music, and it's all a vibe. So let's talk about vibes. Twinkle Time is a vibe. It's a mood. How did it come about?
Well, that's a long story. So I've been in this industry my entire life, like from TV to Broadway to being signed artist on a mainstream label. And when the mainstream era of my life, that chapter closed, I started one of my many gigs. I live in Los Angeles, California. So like when you're an entertainer, you're always like looking for your next gig, auditioning and, doing like waiting for the phone call to ring basically. Right. And one of my side gigs was teaching kids musical theater, singing, dance from like the ages of 2 to like teenagers. I fell deeply in love with the little ones, like the little ones to tweens. It was like a soft spot in my heart. And what I was realizing at the time, this was like now 11 years ago, was the music I was listening, a lot of it was the same old stuff that we all grew up listening to, very singer-songwriter, folky, like the normal Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars. And then there was like, there was some stuff that was like kind of piquing my interest, but I was like, there isn't anything so super cool like pop, rock, hip hop, but with just positive messaging behind it. Yeah. And so I decided to kind of do that and like kind of mesh everything that I do normally, which is like the theater and the performance and the singing and the dancing and the pop world that I came from, and making it like this big extravaganza experience for kids and families. Because then of course my friends were having kids of their own and they were like, oh, we just went to go see Dora live. And I was like, there's a Dora live in an amphitheater? Wow, how cool would that be? So I'm like, I want to do that and be like the largest like thing ever that kids like, because like, we all as tweens, we go to our first concert and, we're like, oh, how exciting, and we have those memories. But how cool is it to have like a little kid and now it's like a whole family, that has to go because a 2-year-old or 4-year-old or 5-year-old, so it's like their first concert experience. So that's kind of what I wanted. And I just kind of did it. Had no idea that I'd still be doing it. Right. It was just kind of like a thought. And I just set the wheels in motion, and now we're still here.
What was your first concert? Do you remember?
I do. So this is so random. So my first concert was a Menudo concert. I know. But wait. Okay, so I'm Peruvian American. Now, I used to listen to everything either my dad listened to or my mom listened to, right? It was like, I didn't even listen to top 40 music, but I had a friend that was like, there's Menudo's going to be in town. Now, it wasn't like the OG Menudo. So they, like they age out after a certain time. So Ricky Martin was aging out. And so it was like his like final, farewell. And so I was like all about like the younger guys that were in it. And I just remember going, oh my gosh, what is this? Yeah. And I was so in love with like this kid named Ruben and Angelo at the time. Yeah. And I met my best friend, who's still my best friend now. She was all about Ricky. She was like the president of the Ricky fan club here in LA.
Wow. That's like a resume builder right there.
But that I wonder if that was like pre-social media, because they were like getting the hype out like without social media. So That was my first concert.
Oh, I can't even remember mine. You know, like I don't. That's what I think. It's like a big like blank spot. I remember when I was in high school. I was in college. I did that, but the kid stuff I didn't do as much. So I have a question for you, Twinkle.
Yeah.
Can I call you Twinkle?
Of course.
So I was reading some of your research, and they dub you the Lady Gaga for kids, which is pretty cool, pretty rad.
Kind of awesome.
It is pretty awesome, but there has to be some sort of balance or challenge when you're creating content or music. You're like, well, how do I push the envelope for myself as an artist without being too provocative or being too cheesy? You don't want to be a cheesy artist. Like,
no, you don't want to be a cheesy artist. So I think. Okay, so I came from the Disney machine. So I was signed to Hollywood Records. This was in right out of high school, so like the late 90s, like early Y2K days. And I learned so much from them. And at the time, like even wearing midriff crop tops, it was no. Like they were like, oh my God, you can't do that. So like there's so many things are, oh my God, you can't say that word. You have to, like they were, especially when it goes to kids or like not so much the tweens, but because it's their brand, they're very particular with, like Disney radio edits. So, so I learned from all of that and I kind of apply it to what I'm doing now, like I'm family. I want to keep it wholesome for all families to enjoy. I'm kind of naturally, it's not hard for me because I'm a natural square. Like I'm just like a
Squares
dork.
Unite.
That's my nickname. So I don't have to work so hard at, keeping like the boundaries because, like that's just kind of who I am naturally, but just also keeping in mind, even like in creating my looks, I don't want to be so provocative because then you have all of that in the mainstream world and it's up, obviously it's up to the parent, like what the kid wants to listen to, but I just create, I don't like when I'm like doing music, I don't go, okay, I just, whatever flows. And it just kind of, when I'm doing visual content, then I just always have to keep in mind certain things, kind of like I go back to those Disney days where like, okay, maybe that would be too much pushing the envelope, so it's just having to wear another producing hat, when doing that.
Keep it DIY. So basically when it comes to actually creating the music, you trust yourself to find your voice in the words and stuff.
Yeah.
That's self-respect, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I love.
Because I want to be authentic, like you want to, like, even though I'm no longer 4 or, 10, I remember all those things, like I was the weird kid. I was the, like I never fit into a box. I kind of always did my own thing. And so I take it from my experiences and then also working with children, I'm able to see like what they're going through now and then just kind of like mesh the two. And it's just like a really cool thing.
I ask you this as somebody who's old and gray and turning 36 this year. What's changed for kids? Like, what's really changed as far as their upbringings, the messages you want to get across with your music that people probably wasn't there when you were a child?
It's kind of interesting. I noticed the progression. So this is like 10 years of me doing kid music, and literally about 5 years ago kids were still kids and like the tweens was like kind of later, but about 5 years ago I started noticing, and I know it has to do with YouTube and all the apps that we have, everything is like in kids' faces at all times, that they too are like listening because of TikTok videos. They're growing up faster, and they're listening to like Cardi B at 5 and twerking at 6. And so like the tween market has actually come down. Like before, tweens used to be like 8 to 12, and now like tweens is like sadly like 5 to 9. It's really weird. And so like I just feel like I always tell kids, like, don't be in such a rush to grow up, like, because you're only a kid literally for a short amount of time. Like it's a small window in comparison to the amount of time that you're an adult or adulting. Like enjoy life, stay a kid for as long as you can.
Well, they should do whatever when I was a kid. When I was in high school, I want to grow up, and my teacher decided to show us how to file our taxes by hand. I was like, you know what? I'll wait. I'll wait as long as I can because I do not want to do this as an adult. So,
wow. I didn't learn how to do taxes. I'm still learning how to do taxes.
yeah, can you handle this for me?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the re-release. It's Okay to Be Me, or
Yes.
A Mí Me Gusta Ser Yo, which is going to be two different versions. I'm trying. I'm a Gringo Moreno, but I'm trying. It's actually two different versions of a remix of one of your classic songs. So walk me through this. Why did this song get the remix treatment and in two different languages?
Well, okay, this song, the message is so important to me. It's who I am. It's what I'm about. And it it'll never die out. Like, you have to always be your authentic self, be the flamingo in a flock of seagulls. I say that all the time. Like, your own unique self is what makes you different. So, like, don't try to be somebody else. Like, so I think it's always current, it's always relevant, and especially for kids who are trying to find themselves and trying to figure out who they are. So, like, my whole message is always just do you. Like, tomorrow, like, you could be something else, like, you know, but like in the moment, always be in the moment and just always be true to yourself. And people will flock to that. Don't try to like be the follower, like be the person that starts the trends, you know? So, I'm Peruvian American. Spanish actually was my very first language.
Nice.
Yeah, like, so I'm first generation. So my mom's Peruvian and my dad's Romanian. But like, for me, it was super important to me from the time I started to doing, when I did kids music, is to always do it in English and Spanish. I was raised in a household where we spoke English and Spanish. I was raised listening to Spanish music primarily. And my grandparents lived with us, and so I would teach them English, and we would speak at home in Spanish, and just like our house was always filled with music and so much culture. So that was very, very important for me from the get-go, always doing it in both languages. And it's such a crowd favorite, this song, that I was like, okay, so last year would have been my 10-year decade of doing
Congrats.
kids music. Thank you. And it was supposed to be like this big hoopla. I had this whole tour planned, and it was just going to be amazing. Released my 4th album last year, and then, as we know, everything changed in a blink of an eye. So I was like, all right, so I waited. And so now this year I've been releasing singles, and so this will be my 4th single. It's revamped. It's got like it's hard. It comes like, it's like in your face, which is so the message. It's like, do you? And so it's electro pop. It's definitely EDM power pop mix. A good dance vibe song.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm really proud of it, and of course I did it in Spanish as well.
So with your tour, and I'm sure this song will be a part of that tour, like, where do you decide where to go? Do you just try to put the feelers out there, see what it is? You go, oh no, these kids would benefit more from my content. How do you select cities? How do you select the path in your tours?
Well, it's literally like what venues like contact me. Like, for example, this year, things just started opening up as far as touring, like literally a couple weeks ago. I know. So it's not like, so in the past, pre-COVID, I know I hate saying that.
It's true, though.
It's true. Pre-COVID, I was doing probably 330 dates, and sometimes multiple shows, multiple venues in those days. So like, I barely had any time off. And last year I was actually supposed to be in China, of all places, and also Japan. And those 2 gigs took me about 5 years to actually seal the deal. So that's another thing that was so frustrating and so sad and disappointing, is like when your livelihood goes away, but like those things that took years for you to actually book. So now some new venues are coming in for this year. Some of the venues that were for last year are like, okay, we want to book you for this summer. So this year it's like a random tour. It's like more like spot dates instead of like an actual tour. But I go everywhere. So I tour the country, everywhere from, like, I'll be in Montana, like in a little town called Lewiston, Montana, for 5 days doing shows, to Colorado. I'm going to be like in Bright Clayton, Colorado, which is just outside of Denver, and doing lots of shows all up and down California. And as things probably start opening up and coming back to somewhat whatever the new norm will be, I'm sure I'll be getting a lot of the other calls as well.
So rad that you're persevering. A question I have for other creatives, and you can interpret this as well, is because again, I come from the stand-up world. Stand-up was my bread and butter. Doing this was all fallout from the pandemic. That's why I'm an advocate of saying pre-pandemic, because I was on tour myself. And it's kind of this weird thing where it's like you have the pandemic life and the post-pandemic life, and now in some ways it's merging, and some things are battling other things. But what kept you going on a creative level? You know, sometimes people always say that when you're non-essential, over a while it starts to affect you, and it affected me too. I was like, well, what's my purpose, bro? What kept you going? What kept you motivated? What get you out of the funks I'm sure you may have had over the past year or so?
So just hearing that, I don't want to cry, because it was rough. I've been in the entertainment industry since I was 5. So even though I'm not old, but I could say I'm a veteran doing it. And you always know in the entertainment industry that you're gonna hit some rough times, and you prepare. I'm a really good saver, because my dad, even though both my parents are educators and they're not part of the entertainment industry, they always said, you better save for a rainy day, because you never know, right? When your next gig is gonna happen. And you've had those moments where you didn't have a job, for let's say a couple weeks or a couple months, but you knew that your tour was going to start, whether it was a touring, national touring tour, or whatever it was, at least I have a job in a couple weeks, I just got to save. But to not know when this was going to end, to have your entire livelihood stripped away from you, and we were the first ones to lose our jobs, our last ones to get it back, and still it's not everybody's oh, I'm back at work. I'm not everybody is back at work. It was devastating, beyond devastating. I when I say I cried and bawled for a week straight, that is not an exaggeration, because when you see your income, because as an artist, an indie artist, you I would know all my gigs would be booked almost a year ahead of time, or at least 6 months out. So I would know that this is what I'm doing for 6 months to even a year, and okay, this is what I'm making. Everything was signed, everything, and you don't get deposits. Right. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. It's as an artist, you pick up payment when you arrive, right. And sometimes I even had flights that were already booked and purchased, so because this happened, the shutdown for me started March 8th, and I had gigs the first week of April, and so we were leaving at the end of March, and so it was me and some of my band members, so all those airline tickets were purchased, all of this stuff that people don't think about, right, that come out of my pocket. So I was so crushed, so devastated. But then I quickly was okay, you need to figure this out. You have to think quick. And I'm a creative person, and I'm a workaholic, which probably a lot of my friends would be you work so much, 24/7 I'm working, I'm always creating, always thinking, but that's just, I love it. I love what I do. So I was put your big girl pants on and figure it out. And so I started a live stream. And so I did a live stream on YouTube, not knowing what I was doing, because I'm not a techie. I'd never done it before. I had a really good friend, RJ, who kind of walked me through how to live stream, how to set it up. I did that every single day. I would literally, my start time was at 2:00. I would get Twinkle-fied and
trademarks,
right? Twinkle-fied. And I literally was every day you're going to create something, you're going to bring joy. Cause then I started thinking, I'm it's not just my life that turned around. It's everybody. It's the whole world shut down. And now parents are trying to figure out how they're homeschooling. And if one parent has to now be a stay-at-home parent because they have to be home with their 5-year-olds, or they have multiple kids. It was a challenge for everybody. And so I was you know what? I'm going to do something. And people were like, why are you doing it for free? Just, you should. I was like, I can't. Like, so many people I know lost their livelihood, their income. I did. So I'm just like, I'm doing it every single day. And I did every single day. And I loved it. And the coolest thing, and I'm sure you know too, is like, I got to meet so many people in my own genre from around the world that I would have never had the time to get to know or to meet. Like I would have never thought that I would be knowing people in New Zealand, in Australia, in South America. And now some of these people are like my new friends, and like we worked it out, and like I got to, when they couldn't tour either, get to introduce people on my platform. And it's just been kind of like a beautiful thing. So like I did the streaming, I started my own radio show / podcast for kids. So it's like the Twinkle Time Top 20 Countdown.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Because, there's not like Radio Disney closed down like during pandemic. And that was an opportunity for family kid music. So there's only like really one like real big source like on Cyrus Radio, but they don't ever play. It's always super political, like we all know things can be. So they don't even play people that like are constantly releasing music. They play their favorites. They play like maybe like, a theme song of the current movie that's out or whatever. And so I'm like, maybe like I need to like start something where I'm also amplifying everybody else's music and their hard work, because being an independent artist is so hard, and you're doing it all yourself. So that's what kept me going. That kept me sane. And the love and support from the people that follow me have meant so much. And I tell them, like, I call them the Twinkle Lights. I said that you guys like they would write me privately or say things like how much like it's been to them this whole year, but like they have no idea what it's done for me. Like it was kind of life-changing.
It's interesting you say that. A lot of people like ourselves who do perform, and even though it's our livelihood in that, hey, look, we need to eat, right? And money makes the world go round. But you can tell if you really like the craft you're working on, if you find a way either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, my live shows are live shows. I probably get paid zero. Probably lose money if you think about it for all the apps you need for it. Yeah. But to be able to like share what you believe and things are on your mind, it's a different kind of feeling. A different kind of therapy. And I'm so glad that families and other people came up to you and say, oh my gosh, I didn't even hear about Twinkle Time until this pandemic shut down. I bet you have a lot more fans now.
And like worldwide now, like I hadn't traveled. I was supposed to travel last year for the first time, out of the country. So the fact that I have listeners from Ireland and from South America, I've never been there yet. So that like it kind of like made our world so much smaller, and I loved it. And another thing that was kind of interesting as an independent artist is no matter what your success was, because success is like obviously like how you view, like how others view you, right? And so people are like, oh my God, you're doing so much. In my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more for me to do or that I want to do, right? But like it put everybody on the same playing field, like all of a sudden, like everybody from, like Lady Gaga to Jimmy Kimmel to everybody, like we were all trying to figure out how to do this.
Absolutely.
And so it was really interesting, and it felt like I was actually working harder, but in a different way, because I don't know about tech stuff. Right. So yeah.
Call that the good tired,
the good tired. Like, yeah.
Woo!
Exactly.
I moved the needle.
Yeah.
What's your platform if I want to check it out now, if I want to see the streams?
So everything is like go to my YouTube channel. It's Twinkle Time. So I was doing live streams Monday through Friday every day, and then 2 months ago I scaled it down to 3 days: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. These last couple of weeks, I've only been on once a week because I got like an eye issue. That's why I'm not fully twinklified. Like I had like a pimple, like a underneath pimple in my eye, not like a sty. It's called a chalazion. My whole eye was swollen, so I can't wear makeup till the end of the week.
Oh yeah,
so I was like, I don't want, like I felt like I looked like a monster. I'm like, I'm not going on, and so I told everybody I'm not going on. And also too, just kind of prepping for the release of the single and working on putting like in pre-production mode of working on the music video. So but they're super understanding, and they're like, when are you coming back? And then my radio show is on Jump 105.3 Pittsburgh. It's like a really small FM, brand new radio station that started at the beginning of the year. But you can find the podcast like on Podbean, iHeart, on my website. And it's called Twinkle Time Top 20 Countdown. So yeah, these were all the things that like started because of COVID.
If you guys can't see me, I have so many tabs open of things I'm going to check out after the show. I got Jump 105.3 Pittsburgh. I have your YouTube channel.
Heck yeah!
It's funny you mentioned like the kind of vibe you're going for. Like as far as when I was a kid, there was like the baby shows, you call it, right? Don't watch that show; it's for babies. But I was a big fan of Radio Disney, and until I realized they really edit the songs.
Yes, yeah.
But I'll talk to you after the show about one of my favorites in particular.
Yeah.
And the Zusha show. I don't remember Zusha had her own like
Shusha, yes.
Yeah.
And was it NBC, right? Like
I remember it was
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I used to watch that.
That was like a concert every week. Kids were going nuts, like
right?
You know what I mean? It was a big time.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. I would love to do a show like that. Like the thing for me is like my show, I always say I'm a family artist because it's not just for the little ones, because I'm not just singing about the ABCs. Like I'm singing about different types of messaging that everybody can relate to. And I think that what kind of sets me apart from a lot of my peers in this genre, because it's like a niche genre, this independent family world, is that I'm doing music that is hard. You know, it's like what a parent or their older siblings would listen to on mainstream radio, but just with a different lyrical messaging. So that's kind of, that's so cool. I loved Shusha. I would love to do a show like that.
But in the meantime, the new release, It's Okay to Be Me, or Me Me Gusta Sergio, coming out June 25th.
On your birthday.
On my birthday, yo, wherever dope tracks are available. If anything you wanted to mention or share to the listeners right here at Amsterdam Radio, here we go.
Definitely go, stream. It'll be everywhere in all streaming platforms. Download if you're still somebody that downloads. But if you don't download, stream the song a gajillion times. Honestly, because literally, I think it's like 1,000 streams equals one sale of an album or a single purchased. So just keep it on replay over and over. Go to my YouTube channel, Twinkle Time. Follow me on Instagram. That's like my favorite. Like I post there all day, every day. It's Twinkle Time and Friends. And if you want to listen to the radio show, it's the easiest way to find it, if you forget like all the other places, is just go to my website, which is twinkletimeofficial.com or twinkleandfriends.com.
You're absolutely right about the streams. My comedy albums have netted me a whopping $2.50. So please stream all you can.
Right. I also try to tell these kids, like, kind of explain to them what the independent artist life is like. And yeah, like we make money from touring. That's how we survive. But all these streams, like stream it, like over and over, or purchase it. It's only 99 cents. That's like cheaper than a Taco Bell burrito.
For the arts.
Exactly.
I want you back in a future episode. I want to see how everything is when everything opens up for 100%. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, I would love that.